Hi, this is estate planning lawyer Michael Pevney, and in this video we are going to talk about 5 ways to avoid the probate process using good estate planning. But before that, if you have any questions about this or anything else related to estate planning, you can visit my website and set up a time to talk to me for free by going to ocestateplanlawyer.com. First, let's talk about what probate is so we know why we want to avoid it. Probate is the series of court hearings that in California can take about 1.5 to 2 years that freeze your money and your property before it can go and be passed along to your loved ones and the people that you want it to go to. And if you die without any estate plan at all or with a will, your estate has to go through probate. So here are 5 ways to avoid it. Number 2 is the best way. So the first way to avoid probate with good estate planning is to own your property jointly with somebody else. Most married couples own their homes jointly with each other, and it's called joint tenancy. The opposite of that would be tenancy in common. And joint tenancy comes with a very specific feature. It's called a right of survivorship. That means if I buy a home with my wife, I pass away, then my wife owns the entire house. You don't have to go through probate. There's no court process to go through. So owning property jointly in a joint tenancy with a right of a survivorship is a good way to avoid probate. The number 2 reason, or the number 2 method to avoid probate is to put property inside of a trust. And that's what I do with most of my clients. I create a revocable living trust. And a trust is kind of like a bucket, or it's something that you can store property in. And so after you pass away, that bucket is passed along to somebody else, the next trustee, and it completely avoids probate. So just like that example I told you about with the house, if one spouse passes away and then the next spouse completely owns the house, when that spouse passes away, then it would have to go through probate. By putting it in a trust with both spouses as the initial trustees or in control of that property, it will never have to go through probate, and it will be passed along to your beneficiaries without ever having to go through expensive probate. The number 3 way to pass along things avoiding probate is life insurance. Life insurance benefits, the life insurance payout does not have to go through probate. So if you've got life insurance through your job, or you've got life insurance privately through an agent or otherwise, whole life, term life, the proceeds of that, the death benefit does not have to go through probate. And the beneficiary is not taxed on those proceeds pursuant to income tax or anything else like that. And it passes without probate. So if you want to pass on money to your loved ones without it going through probate, life insurance can be an effective way to do that. Now, it can be a problem if your life insurance beneficiary passes away before you do, and then there's nowhere for that life insurance money to go to. And in that case, if there's no living beneficiary, then it would actually have to go through probate because it would become part of your probatable estate. But life insurance beneficiary can be a good way to avoid probate as long as the beneficiary is alive. The number 4 way to avoid probate is to designate beneficiaries for your retirement accounts, your IRA, Roth IRA, 401k. For some public employees and nonprofit employees, we have 403bs, we have 457s, we have the TSP for federal employees. All of these are retirement programs. In the traditional, you have never been taxed on that money. It goes in there without income tax. With a Roth option, you've already paid on the income taxes on that, and it will never be taxed even to your beneficiary. But typically when you first set that up, you designate a beneficiary. And so if you pass away, that account will pass to that beneficiary without having to go through probate. But be careful. If you've been working in the same job for 20 years, Maybe you weren't married when you first got the job. Maybe you put your parents as the beneficiaries, but you want your spouse to get that money. So even though it's not going to go through probate, you need to update your beneficiaries if there are any major life changes, like a marriage, maybe even worse, a divorce. What if your ex-spouse is the beneficiary of your retirement account? You pass away, that investment company, they're going to cut the check to your ex because they're still the beneficiary. A lot of horror stories around that, but be careful. But retirement accounts can be a good way by designating a beneficiary to avoid probate. And the number 5 way to avoid probate is to use POD or TOD. So that's payable on death or transfer on death beneficiaries for bank accounts, checking, savings, and non-retirement investment accounts. So what happens is when you pass away, whoever you designate on that POD, payable on death, or TOD, transfer on death account is going to get that money. And that does not have to go through probate. Sometimes an effective thing to do is you don't necessarily have to name an individual as the beneficiary. You can actually name a trust. This can be especially effective for people that have little kids and they don't want their children to inherit that money to get it as soon as they turn 18 years old. They want to hold off until maybe they're a little responsible, maybe they get a degree, maybe they turn 25. So as a payable on death beneficiary, you can actually name a trust, and then that money will flow into the trust without having to go through probate, and then it will be distributed in the exact way that you set up in your trust. So those are the 5 ways to avoid probate using effective estate planning. Own your property jointly, put it into a trust, use life insurance beneficiaries, use beneficiary designations for retirement accounts, and use payable on death and transfer on death beneficiaries. Follow me for more estate planning information, subscribe to this account, comment and ask your estate planning question in the comments. And if you have any other questions about this or anything else related to estate planning, you can visit me at ocestateplanlawyer.com. The link is in the description to this video, and you can set up a time to meet with me for free for a free estate planning strategy session. Thanks for watching.